Been out and replaced a lot of divots and done some work to it. It was really damp. There was a lot they wanted to do they couldn't do, but overall it is in great shape today.
And Alan, it looks nearly as good as the Frederick Bomber field.
Just about. That's the only thing I saw different. It doesn't have the big helmet painted in the middle.
Let's go ahead and give you the starting lineups for the Frederick Bombers, and really very few changes there. Up those speakers, and I believe that the sound is reverberating off on field here is about 5 times as loud as it normally is at home.
I'll tell you what, Mike, as the smoke continues to boil, it's blending right in with the fog today, but the smoke is bellowing out of the tunnel. The Bombers get ready to come on, but back to the sound, we did get here a little early today. We turned it on and tried it, and man, it echoes out of every corner and off every wall. It really sounds good.
And let me give you the starting lineup for the Spiro Bulldogs. They're very potent offense. Number 86, Jeremy Francis, 5'11", 185 senior. Number 76, Jeremiah Maxwell, 6'1", 236 junior. At left guard, Kevin Reed, 5'11", 198 senior. At center, 63, J.W. Giss, 6'3", 190 junior, as the Frederick Bombers come on the field. Attired in their white jerseys, red helmets, black pants, and although it doesn't look like a lot of people across the way because of the size of this stadium, we have 2,500 to 3,000 diehard Bomber fans over there, more on their way. B.J. Clark will be starting at the right guard, 74, 5'11", 220. 72, Rusty Robertson, 5'11", 215 senior. Marvin Lewis, 6', 160 junior. Lavelle Massey will be starting at quarterback. Massey, one of the trio of very, very quick backs that the Spiro Bulldogs have. 5'10", 150, not very big, but very quick, very fast. He's a junior. Number 45, Craig Clayton, very talented.
Many of them are great big kids, but they are very quick. They're very elusive. They're all dangerous up front on their line. Spiro is not real big and real physical, but unless you really wrap up on these running backs, they can sure hurt you.
Spiro will be receiving the kickoff, and they will be defending the north goal. We'll come back in just a minute and set the Frederick defense for you. Let's take a minute timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick. Rules of the Activity Association provide that the home team plays the national anthem, and the Frederick Bombers will be the visiting team. Our crowd is on the far side as the Frederick Bombers are announced, and you just heard them, and they pretty much take up from the 40 to about the 25-yard line, and even though there's a lot of empty seats over there, if there happens to be, John, there happens to be about 25 or 30,000 seats over there. So you'll be hearing in the background the national anthem. Alan, would you go ahead and set that Frederick Bomber defense?
You bet, Mike.
And the score, but Alan, it looks like, I hate to say it, looks like it might just be clearing just slightly.
I'll tell you what, Mike, it is somewhat better. When we first started the broadcast, you absolutely could not even see the scoreboard, and as we've talked here in the last few minutes, the fog has lifted enough where we can make out a number or two now. That's going to be a great help to us. Hopefully, as time goes on, maybe before the kickoff, that the fog will clear enough that we can see everything we need to see. Where we
20, 25 miles an hour, that begins to pick up now, and the flags are blowing quite briskly now, and hopefully, even as we talk, it's clearing up a little bit. And for the Frederick Bombers, I certainly hope that is an omen that everything's going to clear and we'll be ready to go.
You bet, Mike. The Bombers will be kicking off. The kickoff team for the Frederick Bombers: number 32, Josh Morey; number 85, John Mitchell; number 51, Clay Johnson; number 52, J.D. Thayer; number 20, Scott Matthews; number 7, Charlie Gant; number 30, Tony Wiley. Back deep will be number 33, Cheyenne Clark; number 5, Millard Parks; number 21, Kevin Isham; and number 3, doing the kicking will be
Blake Bolton. Blake Bolton is ready to kick appears to be ready, and then the ball is blown off the tee. Back deep for the Spiro Bulldogs. Get used to these names: Freddie Scott, Craig Clayton, Lamar Delt. And one thing Coach Jones is worried about, Alan, is they have lived and died this year on the big play.
Mike, we've watched them on the films this week. They're not hard to bring down. They're just hard to get a hold on. If you'll get a hold of them, wrap them up, and take them to the ground, they're not a real physical type ball team, but they're very elusive. They're very quick. If you can get a hand on them and hold on tight, you'll bring them down. If you don't wrap them up, they're going to get away from you.
And Blake Bolton's kick is off. We're underway as it will go into the end zone. And one indication, Craig Clayton for the Bulldogs went back to his 1-yard line and slipped down. So one thing I did notice, Alan, is the field does not have the lushness, and it's a little slick out there. If you saw the game yesterday, there were some people sliding down.
Right, Mike. They have done a beautiful job. They've came in and overseeded this field with ryegrass. It's very green. It's very pretty from up here. But it's not a lush grass. It's a very short type grass.
And LaBelle Macy is the quarterback. Clayton behind him, and Dale at tailback. On the first play, they hand off to Clayton, and Clayton goes straight ahead from his 20 out to the 24-yard line before he's brought down. And one thing Coach Jones and I talked about was if Clayton had a good ball game at fullback, it would be tough for the Bombers.
Right. Picks up about 4 yards.
And Cheyenne Clark and Clay Johnson will have their hands full today, as they are the two linebackers. In motion goes number 7 for the Bulldogs. They pitch back to Dale. He has a little running room, backs a tackle, and will get out to the 29-yard line. And it looked like that possibly Shea Woodall had an opportunity to get him for no gain, but again, you see the slippery condition and also elusiveness of those backs, and he can see just a little bit better. And it brings up a 3rd and 2 here in the opening minute of this contest. A power eye look for the Bulldogs on this 3rd and 2 situation. The handoff to Dale, and Dale will be stopped short of the first down. He had to cross the 30, and he will get up to about the 29-yard line. And this will be a decision for the Spiro Bulldogs whether or not to punt. And he is short, about half-yard short. We'll see if they punt here or the Bombers sure need not to jump here because they're just about a half-yard short of this first down.
You bet, Mike, and I'm going to commend the Bomber defense. Very good job. They pursued very quickly, plugged the hole very well, stood him straight up, and held him to very little gain.
Number 86 will be punting, and that is Jeremy Francis will be punting for the Bulldogs. Long snap. Snap is a little low. Francis will get it off. It will be a short kick. Will hit about the 42, 43-yard line and will be down there as the ball just kind of died. And they will spot, it looks like, right at the 42-yard line, and that's what series in the ball game. There is no score. 9:48 left to go in this contest as the Bulldogs went 3 and out. We'll see what the Bombers can do. Split backfield motion coming from the right to the left. There's a handoff to Isham. Isham will go across the 40-yard line, 45-yard line, and that will be a gain of about 3 as they ran Isham on a little counter there across the he crosses the 45-yard line. In fact, it's right on the 45, brings up a 2nd and 7.
Mike, pretty good blocking up front by the Bombers. Very quickness of the Spiro Bulldogs showed up. They're very quick to the ball.
And Gaston looking over the defense, hands to Ryan Ben on the same play. Ryan has some running room. He's to the 40, and he will be tackled across the 30 down to the 27 or 28-yard line. And that was the exact same play that Isham just ran, except it was from the other side, and they will spot it just touching the 30. So it'll be between the 30 and 29, and that will be a first down.
And, Mike, the Bombers on the right side of that line absolutely opened Ryan a hole big enough you could drive a truck through. He finds the running room, gets into the backfield, has one man to beat. He gets a hand on him, brings him down, but good job by the Bombers.
And there's a official's timeout as Kevin Isham is, I believe he has as we put the binoculars on, he has a little trouble with the snap, and the referee fixes it for him, and now Isham and Ben are both ready. Gaston looking over the defense, and the Bulldogs playing a 5, almost looks like a 5-3, but they have that strong safety up. Hand off to Isham again, and they are concentrating on Isham as he gets about 2.5, 3 yards.
Mike, I believe the Spiro Bulldogs have done their homework. They're evidently keying on Kevin Isham. They're closing the hole down. They're looking for him every snap of the ball, and you know, they continue to do that. Ryan Ben will just, he'll have a field day today.
Big number 79 for the Bulldogs. That's Charlie Flesher. He's 6'1", 270 on that tackle there. Gaston again looking, Hilburn to the right. Now both backs stand up as the referee runs in. We'll see what the problem is. Looks like someone could have been encroachment. We'll see. It is encroachment against Frederick. One of the either the offensive lineman or the wideout lined up all sides. Allen, that hurts. So instead of a 2nd and 7, it will be 2nd and about 13.
You bet, Mike. Big penalty there. Bombers moving the ball down the field very well, and not a good time for a penalty.
We'll call it a long 12 as they're moved back 5 yards. And Gaston looking over the defense. Little movement. They go ahead and hand the ball off. Do not see a flag, and hands it off to Isham straight ahead. Isham will get most of that 5 yards back as he will go from about the 33 down to the 30-yard line.
And, Mike, you've got to be impressed a little bit with the Spiro Bulldog up front men. On film, they did not look quite as strong and as physical. So far today, they're doing a pretty good job of holding their ground and getting on Kevin Isham.
Well, it looks like that they're trying to slant every play into the lane that Kevin is running, so we'll see, look for the option later on because that could be a factor. And Gaston goes back to pass, has some time looking for the end zone, and it will be intercepted. And he would be thrown out of bounds, and the referee had said that the play had not stopped. I don't know why he didn't go ahead and blow it down, Alan, as he intercepted at about the 2-yard line, and Greg Hilburn was racing down the sideline. The ball drifted just a little bit toward the inside of the field and was intercepted at the 2.
Right, Mike, and in all fairness, Sidney, under tremendous pressure, had to hurry the pass, just threw the ball up, and the ball was picked off right at the 2-yard line. Sacked on an average, I think they'll fumble it about 4 times a game in each of the films we looked at.
And Scott goes to the left. I look in the backfield. There's the option, and Dale breaks a tackle. Now has some running room, going down the sideline, and he will step out of bounds back around the 17-yard line, and that's exactly what we were talking about, Alan, because Dale was hit in the backfield, would have been a safety, and he was able to break that tackle and get from from what looked like it was going to be a safety all the way out to the 17-yard line and a first down.
And Mike, once again, they're not a strong running bunch of kids, but they're very quick. If you don't wrap them up, you're not going to bring them down.
It'll be a 1st and 10 from the 17 as the Bulldogs trying to get out of the hole. Massey on the long count, pitches back to Delt again. Delt has some running room, showing some good speed out. And Allen, the cornerback, looked like he was held and pushed back in a long way, but there is no flag, and Delt will come from his 17 out to about the 26 or 27, be very close to another first down.
Mike, you saw that quickness again. They got the ball outside on the Bombers. Millard Parks, number 5, comes up, makes a good tackle. However, it was after a pretty good-sized gain.
And the wideout was, I don't know if it was on Hilburn or who was on, but he really had him under his control, had his arms wrapped around him, but the referee was out there. There is no call. And it looks like it will be just a little bit short, bring up a 2nd down in about, we'll call it inches, about 6 inches. So the Bulldogs showing some offensive firepower here as Delt has already established that he is going to be a very formidable opponent in this ballgame. So it will bring up a 2nd and about 6 inches to go. And Clayton and Delt in the backfield. Clayton's the fullback, Massey quarterback, Delt the tailback for the Bulldogs. 6:34 left to go in the first quarter, no score, as both teams were not able to, the Bombers were able to move the ball, but they gave it up on a interception at the 2, and this is the second possession for the Bulldogs. Massey looking, and there's some movement in the backfield, and it will be called against Lamar Dale as he took a step early, and the referee was standing about 3 feet from him, so that will be illegal motion, and we'll back him up 5.
You bet. Good play then, and little number 70, Derek Miller, comes in, makes the tackle. However, the offsides penalty will back it up 5 yards.
The Bulldogs on offense, and there hasn't been much opportunity, rather that's a costly penalty. They'll bring up a second and about 5.5, 6 yards. On the option play, Massey has the ball, and he will be knocked down at the line of scrimmage as it was the counter option, and he was met immediately by several of the Bombers.
You bet, Mike. Good job right there. Number 33, Cheyenne Clark. Number 55, Dusty Blankenship, had it read all the way.
Down play here in this contest. No score. 5:40 left to go in the first quarter. Craig Clayton's the fullback. Lamar Dale. Massey goes back to pass, now throws a little Utah pass, and he will be stopped short of the first down, as that was a little Utah pass where the quarterback goes back and shuttles it forward to the tailback, and it goes for no gain or very little gain. It will bring up a 4th and 5, and the Bulldogs will face an apparent punting situation here.
And Mike, I'm going to tell you something here. Number 40, Mr. Woodall, he took on his blocker and the man running the ball and just took them both down in. Very good defense in by Shea Woodall.
Jeremy Francis again will be doing the punting. Ryan Ben back deep. Kevin Isham will be short. And Bulldogs trying to get the Bombers to jump. Very poor kick, or it's better now as it sets and Ryan Ben lets it go. It was kind of a line drive and hit around the 50 and bounces down to about the 46, 47-yard line, and the Bombers will have it pretty close to where they took over last time.
And Mike, once again, so far, Bomber defense playing well, haven't given up the big play, and that's what ball up the middle on them. They're not going to hurt them with a bunch of short yardage, but what they've got to watch for is those big plays.
4:32 left in the first quarter. There is no score here in Owen Field in this semifinal contest. The Bombers on offense. There's a pitch to Ryan Ben out. Has some running room across the 50, down the 45 to the 40, to the 35, pushed out of bounds, around the 32, and there is a flag, and looks like that might be, well, we won't say. It was, there weren't any Bombers around, so it may be a face mask. We'll read that.
And Mike, Spiro, we've been talking about their speed. Ryan Ben showing a little of his then. They beat him. He beats them to the outside on the far side of the field, just outruns everybody, gets around the right end, and picks up good yardage.
And I will apologize to whoever the wide receiver was then. It may have been Hilburn, but he did a great job on the cornerback then on a tremendous block. He sucked the cornerback in and then screened him off so Ryan could get outside. And that will be a 15-yard penalty tacked on. The Bombers have it again in Spiro territory right at the 18-yard line. Oh, goodness gracious, we got another crowd rolling in here.
I tell you what, it was clearing off, and now it's coming back.
Let's go in the first quarter. No score. Hand off to Kevin Isham, still on his feet, and he was hit at the line of scrimmage, twisted and evaded several tackles, and then we'll give him a gain of about 4 as he takes it down to, looks like that's what, John, about the 14-yard line.
Picks up good yardage.
So it will be 2nd and 6. Bombers on the 14-yard line. If you just joined us, we're first quarter, and there's a lot of movement. There is no flag, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. The ball was snapped, but half of the line did not move. And nevertheless, Isham will go ahead and take it down. Take it down for about another 3-4 yards, brings up in, because like you said, the ball snaps, the line a little slow taking off. That's almost had to be the case. The important thing was they gained about 4 yards on it, no matter what happened. It's 3rd and 2, ball just outside the 10. They need to get to the 8. Hand off to Kevin Isham as he slips right as he got the ball, and he will be very close depending on where they mark his knee down. Needed to get to the 8, and it is right at the 8-yard line. Looks like that they're going to measure it. Alan, I know you have great eyes, and you've got binoculars right now. But is this going to be good?
Mike, it's good by about the length of the football.
They will bring it on, and we, for those back in Frederick, this game has moved rapidly along, so we will have to give our sponsors time in a minute, but it is a first down. We have had no official timeouts here, so Cheryl, keep going. As soon as we get a time for some sponsors, we'll give it to you. A lot of action going on here. 2:34 left to go in the first quarter. Bombers, there is no score, and the Bombers have a first and goal at the 8-yard line, actually just between the 7 and the 8. Gaston, looking at the defense, now runs the option play and keeps the ball, and he will get close to the 5-yard line as he kept it and followed Ryan Ben right up the right side, and it will be for short yardage, brings up a second and go from the 5.
And Mike, I'm kind of impressed so far. The line of the Spiro Bulldogs, as we watched some film earlier this week, they did not look very physical, right? Up until now, they're doing a very good job inside holding their blocks.
Of course, they have two tackles that have really good size, and they're slanting in, trying to cut off those lanes. Hand off to Kevin Isham, and he gets very close to going. Touchdown! And there was a delay by the official as he ran in. And, folks, that was a situation where Kevin got the ball at the 5, and it was just like if you've seen Mrs. Peach when everyone's under the umbrella and everyone's just moving in a little covey, they just kind of moved up step by step until they got across the plane into the end zone.
Mike, that's exactly what happened. Line stays low, drives Spiro back off the ball. Kevin falls right in behind him and just tiptoes right into the end zone.
He actually just leaned on their back as the line carried him into the end zone. He crosses the plane. And it's a touchdown as the Bombers take a 6-0 lead as William Martin comes on. And it will be held by Jake Carpenter. There's a snap. It's up. And it looks good. It is good. It's 7-0. Let's take a minute timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick. Stadium in John Allen. I've always wanted to say that. We're live from Owen Stadium, Norman, Oklahoma, where the Bombers have just taken a 7-0 lead over the Spiro Bulldogs with 1:43 left to go in the first quarter. Bombers driving all the way from about their 46, 47-yard line into the end zone just on blood and guts, nothing really fancy. And they've taken a 7-0 lead. Allen, boy, you hate to, you either want to kick this thing in the end zone, you don't want to give Lamar Delt or one of these young men back there a chance to run this thing.
You bet, Mike. They can be scary. Kickoff team once again up front. Morey, Mitchell, Johnson, Thayer, Matthews, Gant, and Wiley. Back deep, Isham, Parks, and Clark. And doing the kicking will be Blake Bolton.
And Blake Clayton is deep for the Bulldogs.
Blake doing a very good job on the kickoffs all year long.
And this will be taken by Clayton right at his 5 or 6-yard line. He will come up the middle and will get back to the 24-yard line as he is met by a host of Bombers.
And Mike, you saw once again, if you folks watch the OU Nebraska game, you saw that they had a little trouble with footing as the Bomber kickoff team goes up the field once again when they try to make those cuts. The grass is very short, it's very green, it must be awfully slick. A little trouble with some footing out there today.
And the ball will be spotted at the 24-yard line. Very good coverage by the Bomber defense. Spiro will have it there. Massey comes up to the line. Clayton and Delt hand off to Clayton, the fullback, and he will be met after about a yard gain and then driven back. Ferocious hit by Clay Johnson along with Derek Miller and Chad Stone as he gets up off the pile.
Tell you what, very good defense in, Mike. Close the hole down very quickly. Linebackers filling, everybody doing.
Get a yard, and then they gave him forward progress. Massey, the quarterback for the Bulldogs, as they have tight end to the right. Man goes in motion from their right to their left. There's the option play, and Massey has some open room down to the 35 to the 38. And around the 37-38, and that was a situation where the cornerback hat man has to honor Dale, and the quarterback just turned it up, much like Sidney Gasson has done, is able to get the first down.
You bet. Good.
With 27 seconds, almost the end of the first quarter, Bombers leading 7-0. Massey, the quarterback, on the option again, running the same play, has some open room, and he will be great play, and there's a flag. Great defensive play. I believe that is Kevin Isham. Great defensive play to get out there and bring Massey down, or he might have gone for a touchdown.
I tell you what, Mike, very scary play. He looks like he's got the corner made. Kevin Isham just comes across the field like he shot out of a gun and gets him from behind. Good defense by Kevin Isham.
And it will be a holding penalty on the Bulldogs. And Allen, every time, and Coach Jones was complaining to the officials over there earlier, every time that their wideouts come in and they hold that linebacker to keep him from getting out, and the referees called it that time.
3 weeks, they're playing very well up until this point in the ball game.
Massey, a quarterback, sets him at the 28. Now the referee steps in. That will be the end of the first quarter. Bombers leading 7-0. Let's take a minute timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick. Cheryl? They're underway. There's the handoff back to Clayton, and Clayton will go to the 30. And we're doing this for playback because we're still off on the commercial. And this will be the quarter. As the referee indicated, he could not end there was still some time left. So, Cheryl, we apologize. You can go ahead and have it back for another 30 seconds. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick. We're ready to start the second quarter. Bombers leading 7-0. Second and 18. Ball resting right on the 30-yard line. Back to pass is Massey. Wide open man. Intercepted. It was intended for the tight end. He was wide open. It went over his outstretched hands. He tipped it right into the arms. I believe that was John Hughes. And John Hughes intercepts it and goes down as he dives for the ball. And the ball downfield here and put it in. It's got to put a big dent in Spiro's and Jeremy helmet. Francis is wide open. John Hughes doing a good job on the rebound there. Bombers have it at their 44. Handoff to Ryan Ben, and he will get short yardage as the Bombers trying to run the little trap play back across from the right to the left, and they'll give him a gain of 2 yards, brings up a 2nd and 8 as he crosses the 45 to Ryan. Alan, if they ever get the option untracked, you may see a long play as they're gambling on the line of scrimmage, trying to keep Ryan and Kevin from getting ahead of steam. There's a pitch to Kevin Isham outside, and Kevin has some running room. Good job by the cornerback to keep that from being a long play, but Kevin Isham is able to get very close to the first down. And the Bombers actually having a little bit more room outside than they thought they would. It will bring up a 3rd and less than 1. Doing a good job blocking on that outside. And that was just what they just pitched the ball to Kevin and led him with a lineman and a couple of backs there. There's a handoff, and he's hit behind the line of scrimmage, and it will be close to the line of, close to the first down needed, yardage needed, as they hand it off to, I believe that was Ryan Ben, and he gets just enough for the first down. It will be a 1st and 10 in Spiro territory. Alan, Bulldogs have a lot of quickness on that defense. Yes, they do, Mike. That's one thing that makes them very dangerous is that quickness. There's the option play. Oh, and he's wide open. Ryan Ben, he's going down the sideline to the 30-yard line and then knocked out of bounds and be knocked out on the 32-yard line. And there's the quickness of the Spiro defense because that was a little counter option play, and they pitched it to Ryan. He had a seam, and the same men that are in that defensive secondary that are in that offensive backfield, and they showed some quickness by getting out there and keeping them from scoring. It looked for a minute like Ryan was wide open, wasn't anybody going to get in his way, and boom, all of a sudden, there they are. They're very quick. So the ball will be 1st and 10 at the 32-yard line. Bombers head 7-0 early in the second quarter. Handoff to Ryan Ben, cuts outside at the 20, and still on his feet at the 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Ryan Ben, as he was wrapped up at the 20-yard line, and rather than going down, he just knocked the defender off of him and then raced to the end zone for the touchdown.
Mikey breaks 2 tackles. We've talked about how elusive Spiro's backs are today, and right there you saw a prime example of what we were worried about them doing to us. He actually broke 2 tackles in. He shoves one off, gets down the field. The guy tries to arm tackle him. He shoves off him. Into the end zone he goes. Great run.
And I can tell you, Ryan Ben actually just took the young man that was trying to tackle him and just shucked him aside.
Kind of like you do one of your kids every once in a while, wasn't it, Mike?
He just threw him out of bounds and then raced for the end zone. Bombers lead 13-7 as William Martin comes on. The kick is up. It's good. The Bombers lead 14-0 in this semifinal contest. Let's take a 30-second timeout. You're listening to KYBE 95.9 Frederick.
2, 1, go.
And the Bombers open the second quarter with a 5-play, 56-yard drive. And as we said before, it appears that the Spiro Bulldogs very conscious of the fact that the Bombers have made their living up the middle, slanting everyone to the middle, and then Alan, the Bombers having a lot of success going outside now.
That's right, Mike. That's one advantage of having those 2 backs. They can run that middle, and they also have that speed to run outside. Spiro overlooking that speed to the outside. That's today where most of the yardage has come from.
10:01 then left to go in the first half. In this second quarter, Bombers leading 14-0, and once again the Bombers will have to kick off to either Clayton or Scott or Massey, and they are very, very dangerous. Joe Washington type backs, if you want to compare them to someone. Bombers doing a good job so far covering them. We'll see how Blake Bolton does this time. Looks like it might be the deep onside kick, and I believe that one of the Bombers may have been offsides as the ball is blown dead just as the Blake Bolton approaches the ball and kicks. And that was going to be the deep onside kick that the Bombers had a lot of success with. And without looking, Alan, I can probably bet you now, they're not going. It doesn't look like they're going to move the ball, so it may have been that they just were not set. I believe that's what it was.
I believe you're right, Mike. That's exactly. Ball goes right back to where it started, and we start over right here.
The referee down in the far end zone has to give the all-clear signal, and he did not give the all-clear signal, so that's why the ball was blown dead. And we'll see if they try the deep onsides again. I know Coach Jones does not want to get them back in the ball game with the long run back, but it will be taken by Clayton at the 5, and he fumbles it at the 10, and now has some running room up the sideline and will be hit at the 25, 26-yard line. And credit Blake Bolton, the kicker, doing a good job as a safety as he planted himself firmly at 25 and made a bone-jarring tackle on Mr. Clayton. And
he's doing a great job handling them so far today.
And there is a flag on the return. I believe it will be an illegal block, so that will back the Bulldogs up even a little bit more. That's a block below the waist. And that will back them up to the 13 nose of the ball, just touching the 13-yard line deep.
Sunday afternoon on the cable this week at 6 o'clock Sunday afternoon.
And thanks to the fog clearing now, you may even be able to see some of it. As Massey hands off to the fullback going to the left, looked like he wanted to pull it back out and run the option. And that will be for a short gain of 1.5 yards, 2 yards. Look for him to keep the ball again. One of the things that Coach Jones and I talked about was if the Bombers could stop that fullback with their tackle, which they've done, then that would have allowed them to do more with the option out there.
You bet, Mike. Bomber defense are playing very well so far today.
So look for the option here. Ball resting on the 15-yard line, 3rd and 9. Motion comes to the left, pitch back to Delt. Coming around the left side will be knocked out of bounds, and looked like he stepped out a little bit quicker than where the hit was, but he'll be spotted right at about the 18, between 18 and 19-yard line distance any play. Last week he had an 83-yard run, 3rd and 5 for the Bulldogs, and they will call a timeout as they did not feel like they had the right personnel, and quarterback looks at the coach and goes over to the sideline. Let's take a 30-second timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick. Stevens, our statistician, counting them right now. But we'll say around 2,000 people. We have a lot of folks over there on the Frederick side. I have a lot of people, and there are a lot of people from Marlow here in Bonita also taking in this early ball game. Third and 5 as Massey goes back to pass, has a lot of time. A man open, complete. And that was number 35 for the Spiro Bulldogs, Dustin Gist, who was wide open, and he will go all the way, big play. And he
any minute with those big plays.
And Dustin Gist was wide open. That's good for the first down. Big play for the Bulldogs. Bombers leading 14-0 here at the midway mark of the second quarter. 8:24 left to go. Hand off to Delt up the off left tackle, and he gets very short yardage. Give him a gain of 1, 2nd and 9.
They're very quick. They're very elusive, and almost every play it just scares you to death.
Scott comes to the left side for the Bulldogs. There's the handoff to the fullback up the middle, and the ball, evidently the ball came out, but it was blown dead as one of the Bulldogs picked it up and tried to advance it, and it will bring up a 3rd, and we'll call it long 6, short 7.
Frederick Bombers, Mike, they can hold them 3rd and long, force them to punt again. Sure going to deepen their hole.
Look for the tight end if they decide to pass. Going back to pass, and Massey, there's a fumble on the play, and Bombers are going to, the ball's still loose, and Bombers get on it finally. The first man tried to pick it up, and I believe that was William Martin, may have tried to pick that up. Number 67 for the Bombers. And let's see, I believe that
Brandon
Phillips tried to pick that up, couldn't quite get the handle. He would have gone for a touchdown, and finally the rest of the Bombers come around and pick it up. And Lavelle Massey was hit from behind and fumbled the ball, and the Bombers have it. 1st and 10 at the 47-yard line in Bulldog territory. Big play there. We'll see if the Bombers can put some more points on the board. Gaston on the pitch to the left to Isham, to Ben, and Ben will cross the 40-yard line down very close. May have got to 39. We'll see where they spotted it. He was right on the out-of-bounds marker, and they will say he stepped out right at the 40-yard line, and that will bring up a 2nd down and 3. Bombers leading 14-0 here.
Ryan picking up the blocks, falling right in behind them. Good blocking, good job of running the ball.
Bombers have decided to spread them out now and see what they can do. There's a counter play to Kevin Isham, and really Kevin had, he'll be close to the first down. Kevin tried to cut it back to the inside and actually kind of tripped over the tackler. He might have had big yardage, but that's good enough. You give him a gain of 4, and that will be good enough for the first down. Bombers have
from the half, and Bombers up 14. They go into the half 21-0. It'll be a long halftime for the Spiro Bulldogs.
Gaston looking over the defense, and he will hand off to Isham, and Isham still on his feet as he was hit around the 37-yard line and then bounced off that tackle and goes from the 37, or excuse me, that would have been about the 33, and he goes all the way down inside the 30 to the 29.
Right, and Mike, he just made that yardage on his own, hammers it out right up the middle, taking the Spiro Bulldogs with him, and good gain there by Kevin Isham.
Brings up a 2nd and 3 as the Bombers just trying to hammer here and take a lot of time off that clock. The best defense they can have is that offense to stay on the field with these long drives. Gaston fakes a pass. Now he's going to throw the fade route, and there's a man there. He intercepts it, and he's got some room down the side. 25 back to the 30, down to the 50-yard line, and that was a pass that I don't believe Sidney wanted to throw because the defensive man had the bead on the ball the entire time.
Mike, he had his eye on it before it ever left Sidney's hand, just stood there, waited on the ball all the way. That's a big break there for the Spiro Bulldogs.
Try to capitalize on this 30-yard return as the ball was intercepted down around the 15 or 14 in there. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs at the Bombers 49. Best field position they've had. Massey, long count now, is going to run the reverse, and there's some open room as Scott is going to be hit on a great tackle as he had some open running room there for just a minute.
Mike, we do have a flag on the play, but I'll tell you what, Cheyenne Clark makes an excellent defensive play. He stays at home, sees the reverse all the way, comes up and just hammers him. Good job by Cheyenne Clark.
And it will be, looks like it's illegal motion against the Bulldogs, but that play had an opportunity to go for a long way, and then Cheyenne Clark comes out of nowhere to make a bone-jarring tackle in the open field and takes Mr. Scott down. All for naught. There is a 5-yard penalty on the play. The play actually went for no gain. And that will be declined, as actually the play ended up losing about half a yard, and the ball is now touching the 50-yard line. Quick and fast Spiro Bulldog team. Clayton, the fullback, dealt the tailback. Motion comes to the left. There's the option play, and they try to pitch a dealt, and they do not blow the play dead. I thought that they had blown the play dead, but credit Massey with doing a good job going ahead and pitching the ball, and Delt takes it and brings up a 3rd and 2 as he's able to gain about 7 yards.
And Mike, for the life of me, I did not know how the man got the option off. He had 2 bombers, had him completely wrapped up, still makes the option, picks up about 7 yards, as you said. Good game.
And one of those situations, Delt was able to catch it, or it would have been another fumble. 3rd and 2 for the Bulldogs. There's the option, a counter play, and it will be snuffed for no gain. And
I'll tell you what, Mike, number 70, Derek Miller, wraps him up before he ever gets the ball almost. A great job of coming through the line and making a tackle then by number 70, Derek Miller.
And the scary thing about this Spiro offense, they have so many big play potential, so much big play potential, and they will gamble. And it's going to be a 4th and 4, ball resting at the 45. And Massey goes back to pass, has a man open. It will be overthrown, as the ball was 10 to 15 yards overthrown, and the Spiro fans wanted a pass interference, but that wasn't. The ball was already 10 yards past the receiver when he fell down before halftime.
You bet, Mike. 3 minutes and 14 seconds left in the half. Bombers up 14-0. Bomber defense playing an excellent ball so far this first half. You can credit keeping the Spiro Bulldogs under control to the Bomber defense.
Gaston looking over the defense. Now hands to Isham as he picks a hole over the left side and will get from pretty close down to the 50-yard line. That will be a gain of, let's give him right at 5 yards. Brings up a 2nd and 5. Ball just shy of the 50-yard line in Bomber territory. In this semifinal game, there'll be another game as there is a penalty, and one of the Bombers may line up offside again. We'll see. And it will be against the Bombers. And what happens when one of the Bombers comes up, and when they get in their stance, their head is across the plane, and Coach Jones is not like that. Coach Grimes likes it even less as he comes out on the field and says, guys, don't line up in a neutral zone. So it will now be 2nd and 10 rather than 2nd and 5. Ball resting on the 45-yard line. Bombers have to get to the 45-yard line in the opposite direction, and Isham takes it over the left side, and he will get about 3 of those yards, maybe 3.5 back, and it will bring up a 3rd and 7. Trying to gamble that the Bombers would not be able to get outside on them. And the Bombers had a lot of success outside. 3rd and 7. Bombers need to get to the 45. There's a handoff to Isham. He will go across the 45 down to the 42-yard line on the little counter play as he cuts back across the seams and picks up the needed 7 plus a couple more. He will get down to the 42-yard line with the clock running under 2 minutes now, 1:47. Bombers leading 14-0 in this contest.
Tell you what, Mike, he caught the Spiro going the wrong direction that way, cut back against the grain, comes up, hits a Spiro Bulldog head on. Great run by Kevin Isham.
And we have a double tight end offense. As they hand it off to Ryan Ben, he will cross the 40 close to the 39-yard line. 1:22 left to go in the first quarter. Bombers just trying to grind it out. They do have all their timeouts left, and they will use one of them at this time. 1:16 left to go. We'll also use one of our 30-second timeouts. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick.
What's happening? We still got the ball?
Mm-hmm.
To stop the Bulldogs one more time, and Bombers break the huddle now, and we'll see what they decide to do. 1:16 left to go. And Allen got two tight end offense, and Kevin Isham, Ryan Ben in the backfield. Gaston on the option, hands off to the first man through, and Ryan Ben will be stopped very close to the line of scrimmage. Might have gained a foot or two, but that will bring up a third and about long 7 situation. Actually, as they do not move the stick at all, so it brings up a third and long 7, short 8.
Mike, a little mix-up there on that play. Have got to believe just wasn't anything at all there.
Twin receivers to the left, as looks like they're showing blitz. There's a pass down the middle. It will be intercepted again. And there's a penalty, as it might be on the return, but the ball was intercepted right at the 25-yard line. And Sydney has not had a lot of luck going to that left side over there. He's completed a bunch of them, but they've been to them.
I'll tell you what, Mike, if you talk about snake bit, I believe Sydney is today. Thrown the ball 3 times and 3 interceptions today.
That will be that was on the run back on penalty on a block on the wide receiver. So that will be 15-yard penalty with 37 seconds left to go in the contest. Ball moved all the way back to the 18-yard line. Bombers leading 14-0 as the first half is about to come to a close. But Allen with 37 seconds left and the big play potential by Spiro, you can't take anything for granted.
You bet, Mike. You don't want to count Spiro out, as we've mentioned time and time again today. Their backs are very deadly. They're very quick. They can throw the ball. They're not real physical, but they are fast. And, boy, just any time they can break the big play.
Full house backfield as they hand off to Dale right up the middle, and Dale's still on his feet, and he would be still on his feet as the Bombers held him up trying to strip the ball. And forward progress will get him to around the 24-yard line as time runs out in the first half. Bombers lead the contest at the end of the first half, 14-0. Let's take a 3-minute timeout, and we'll be back with some statistics and some commentary. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick. Will dissipate here and go back out. Hope this is not something that is going to come in and keep us from broadcasting. Or we'll go ahead and broadcast, Alan, because I'll just make it up if I have to.
You're pretty good at that stuff anyway.
But the captains have come back on the field, and they will be deciding who will have the ball at the start of the second half. But the fog is rolling back in. We're able to see the track all the way across behind the stadium, and that is beginning to disappear now, and hopefully it will hold off. This might be a difficult. Alan, if you were playing here tonight, which there's a game after this, Marlow Bonita, that would really be tough trying to play a night game with that type of fog.
Oh, Mike, it would. Owens Field does not really have an elaborate lighting set up. Normally they'll bring in portable lights and set up. They do have some lights around the top of the stadium, but you take with the really what I would probably call inadequate lighting for a stadium like this. Of course, they don't play many night games here, but you take the lighting like it's going to be, and the fog and the darkness all put together, and it could be tough.
And Shea Woodall comes back on representing the Frederick Bombers, and they will receive.
Well, Strickland.
field, you'll know that the area where the wagon comes out, the Sooner Schooner, and the Spirit of FHS is there with the siren on, and it's now in the end zone. And we appreciate the folks here at Owen Field allowing the quarterback club and Mr. Strickland to be able to bring the Spirit of FHS here and come on the field.
You bet, Mike. Speakers set up on the sidelines again tonight. Johnny Hester bringing those in. Jeff Rector, Jack Marshall, and Jeff Marshall bringing the smoke machine. Strickland and Bill Deal bringing the little bomber. A lot of quarterback club members have to take quite an involvement in this, and a lot of work goes into this presentation before
anything, take any type of risk. So they may try an onside kick here. Never know.
Right, Mike. And when you're small in size, kind of like Spiro is, and you don't have that big physical bulk in front of you, you're going to look to those trick plays. You're going to do some things that most teams don't normally do, and every one of them is capable of resulting in a big play. You've got to watch them every down.
And when we say small, we're talking relative because on the defense they're 185, 270, 159, 239, 165. That was a big player in my day, but that's just average nowadays.
That's right, Mike. A lot of these teams you go up against, you can look right down the line. They're 240, 250, 270, 280. They're a lot bigger than this team.
And there will be the kick, I believe. That's Clayton. Will try to send this deep, and it will go to Ryan Ben. He takes it around the 7-yard line, and he will be knocked down in the 20 on a horrendous tackle as the Bulldogs are fired up. And that was number 72, Rusty Robertson, who came in from nowhere and leveled Ryan Ben right at the 20-yard line.
And Mike, even though he is 5'9", 215 pounds, he got tackling by Rusty Robertson.
And it's a very important drive for the Bombers. They cannot be lackadaisical, as 14 points may not hold up in this contest. There's a handoff to Ryan Ben. He has some running room up the middle. He's to the 40, to the 45. And number 3 for, I believe that's Lavelle Massey, number 2, saves a 80-yard touchdown as, again, we talked about the quickness, as Ben goes from his 20-yard line up to the 47-yard line.
I'll tell you what, Mike.
Excuse me, that was Isham on that run there.
The only reason Kevin didn't score then is that boy had a hold of his shirt tail and hung on for dear life.
So it'll be 1st and 10, the ball at the 47. There's a handoff to Ryan Ben over the right side, and he will go ahead for short yardage. And the Bombers need to take this ball, march it down the field, and put it in the end zone, Alan.
Mike, that's exactly right. The offense has got to control the ball, run some time off that clock, and keep it away from those Spiro Bulldogs.
And Kevin would have been gone, except Massey, the safety, was the last one that could bring him down, and he did. There's a mix-up on the play as Gaston goes to the offensive right, and both of the backs go to the offensive left, and all that is there for Gaston is a defensive end, and he drops him for a 3-yard gain, or 3-yard loss. It brings up a 3rd and 11.
Bombers need to convert on these things, run the ball down the field, and keep that clock running.
So we'll be 3rd and 11 as the Bombers need to convert this, so they will have to face their first punting situation. Handoff to Ryan Ben, and he will goes ahead for about 5 yards to bring up a 4th and 5. And Bombers will have a choice here, and looks like they're going to send the punting team on. The ball is in Bulldog territory. And Ryan Ben goes over 100 yards with that carry, but I'm sure he would like to have had the first down. And I believe that Ryan Ben is back to punt for the Bombers. Snap is off. There is a flag, and it will be blown dead. That would be really nice, John, if it was offsides against the Bulldogs.
I saw some movement on their side of the line, but I guess they're going to say...
The referee is going to say that it was illegal motion and that defensive player was drawn off, so it will be 4th and 10 rather than 4th and 5. Bombers making a couple of mistakes early in this drive,
You bet, Mike. And you sit here, you think, well, the Bombers are up 14 points, folks. One big play, Spiro's right back in the ball game.
And back deep is Massey and Steele, two young men who can do that very thing. Ben gets off the punt. It will be taken at the 15-yard line, and he goes out of bounds. Down to cover is Hilburn, and they're taken by Steele there, and he will go about a yard ahead before Hilburn is able to drive him out of bounds. Very good punt, and also good coverage. As Alan, we can no longer see anything outside the stadium, so the fog is coming back in. 1st and 10, Bombers leading 14-0, 9 minutes left in the third quarter. There's the option play straight ahead to the fullback, and he will get to the 20, and looks like his forward progress may be even up to about the 21-yard line. Give him a gain of 3, almost 4, and bring up a second and a, we'll call it gain of 4, bring up a 2nd and 6.
Mike found a little seam in up that middle and picked up the 3 yards. Bombers going to have to toughen up a little bit. If they can hold them deep here, not let them convert this first down, get the ball back, that's exactly the way they need to play the game.
Massey, the quarterback, Clayton fullback, dealt very dangerous tailback. As Massey goes back to pass, now he's under some pressure, now he's scrambling, now he's going to throw, and it will be incomplete. As covered by Hughes, Massey under very severe pressure, and he underthrew his receiver, Freddie Scott, number 1, and that will go incomplete. And I tell you what, Alan, in the last minute, it is just getting more and more foggy.
Well, Mike, it did it almost on that last play. I'm sitting there thinking my binoculars are out of focus, and I thought, well, there's something wrong. I bring them down to wipe them off, and I can't even hardly see the field.
Folks, bear with us. There's 8:10 left to go as the field is disappearing in front of us. It's 3rd and 6. Ball on about the 21-yard line. There's a Massey on the option. Now he pitches with Dale has some running room. He will be very close to the first down, as it looked like there was a busted play, and then Massey pitched the ball back to Dale on the option, and he will get right at the 27-yard line. He needed to get to the 27, so I believe that they're going to measure this, and it's to the press box side. The fog just rolled in from the coast.
Well, I mean, Mike, it did. It just seemed like you blinked and it was here, but very foggy.
It's about 6 inches to go for the first down, and that would be a 4th and 6. Massey, the quarterback, look for a quarterback sneak as the Frederick fans rise to their feet. This is one of those plays, Alan, you don't want to overrun it. You want to try to prevent the first down, but you don't want to try to overrun it, as Bulldogs come out in a power I, and they will hand it to Massey, and I believe that he will have enough for the first down on the quarterback sneak.
Quarterback sneak. Of course, you've got to, on defense, watch for that long snap count. He fools them, ball snaps the ball on almost probably the first audible and does pick up the first down.
0, 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs after 28. Massey comes up to the line of scrimmage. Clayton and Delt behind him, twin receivers to the right, hand off the fullback up the middle with some running room, gets to the 35, and then will be 30. We'll see where they spot it as we're looking at the referee. He has his foot on the 36, and that will be where they will spot it, and he'll be about a yard and a half short of another first down. What the Bulldogs try to do on the 2nd and short. Massey brings his offense to the line of scrimmage. Pitch back to Delt. Has some outside room, breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle. Will get close to the first down. Kevin Isham knocks him out of bounds right at the first down marker. He had an opportunity to be brought down in the backfield, but he eluded that tackle. And I believe he will be knocked out of bounds just short of the first down, brings up a 3rd down and about another 6 inches, similar to what they had last time. And the tackler doesn't have their head in front of the ball carrier. They will not be able to bring him down. 3rd and less than a yard. The handoff to Deld up the middle, and he will be very close. Looks like he may have the first down.
And Mike, the fog just keeps getting thicker and thicker and thicker.
And in a situation where if it begins to set in here, it may not clear for the night. And of course, we have not had any opportunity to watch any weather, so we don't know what the situation is. It is up there 39. First and 10 as they're beginning to try to establish a long drive. Massey at quarterback goes back to pass, has a lot of time. Now he throws, and it's complete across the 50 down to about the 46-yard line. Tackled by John Hughes, and that was good to Marvin Lewis. Massey right on the money. And Alan, we kind of had to do that by braille because I never saw the ball go through the air.
Mike, I tell you, laps on it, it would be tough.
Well, we may need to get them to get a fluorescent orange one or something, but nevertheless, it's first and 10. The Bulldogs in Bomber territory. Here comes a tailback pass, and it's intercepted, we think. And he's still running back to the 20, to the 25. John Michael Hughes across to the 33-yard line.
Don't be John Michael on that side.
We believe we're trying to check it because it was a tailback pass.
Number 11, Greg
And
Hilburn.
I believe it's Greg Hilburn over there. And folks, forgive us because when the ball went in the air, we cannot see the ball go in the air, folks. I don't know how else to tell you. And we had to watch as the ball was intended for a receiver at the 10, and Hilburn went up and intercepted it. And we saw him returning the ball. That's how we knew he had intercepted it. So the Bombers have it, first and 10 at their own 31, leading 14-0 here in the third quarter. Kevin Isham tries to run a little trap play from the right to the left, and he will go ahead for about 3 yards. 5:26 left to go in the third quarter. Bombers again leading 14-0. Can barely see the fans on the far side, and we can barely see the scoreboard, and the players are just visible. That's about it. Hand off to Kevin Isham again, and I say Kevin Isham because it looks like Kevin when he ran. It's not because I saw his number. And he will go straight ahead over the left side, giving 4 yards, brings up a 2nd and 3.
And Mike, I'll tell you what, it is tough to make out a number. You know, the binoculars don't even help. They won't cut through the fog. But right here, the Bombers need to keep control of this ball, march it down the field, and run that time off that clock.
Hilburn comes to the right. There's a handoff to Isham again, and he will be very close to the first down. And our statistician says it looks like he may have it. We'll see where they spot the ball. And he needed to get, looks like they are going to measure because the official turned and asked the captain of the defensive team if they wanted to measure. It looks like from this vantage point, Alan, that the Bombers should have the first
Mike,
down.
I believe it is good by probably the length of the football, and it's exactly about what it is.
So Bombers will get a first down with Kevin Isham's run. And you're right, John and Alan, what they need to do, what the Bombers need to do is just move this ball down the field 4 or 5 yards at a clip and eat the time up off the clock. They are leading with 4:23 left to go in the third quarter, 14-0, as we pick up the binoculars and trying to make something out down on the field with the fog as it's set in very, very densely. Hand off to Kevin Isham, and he will go over the right side.
Ryan Ben.
Excuse me, that's Ryan Ben. And, boy, it's tough, Alan.
I'm telling you what, Mike, folks, you just don't realize how it is. To start with, we're a long, long ways from the field, and with all that fog betwixt us and the football players, it's very tough to see.
And hopefully, we have 2 cameras doing the playback. One is down lower, and hopefully your playback will be better than what we're seeing, but I wouldn't count on it. Sidney Gaston looks at the defense, hands off to Ryan Ben, and he will be hit in the backfield, and will get just back to the 45-yard line, and it will bring up another 3rd and long situation where the Bombers need to be a 3rd and let's call it a long 7. They need to get down about between the 47 and 48 in Bulldog territory.
Mike, the Bombers desperately need to march the ball downfield. Score 14-0. You know, just one play and Spiro can score, and they're right back in the ball game where Frederick can march the ball down the field, pick up that extra score, that'll put them up 21 and pretty well put them in good shape.
Carpenter goes in motion. There's the option back to Ben. Has some running across the 50 to the 40 to the 35 to the 30 to the 20 to the 15, 10, 5, touchdown on the option play. Ryan Ben.
My great job of running by Ryan Ben around that left side, putting the move on one of those Spiro secondary people. Pulled him right out of his socks, goes all the way down the left sideline into the end zone, and just exactly what we were in hopes that would happen, just did.
And Ryan Ben goes all the way on that option, and credit Sidney Gaston. On first, they all went for Kevin Ish, and Sidney Gaston on a perfect pitch, and then Ryan Ben raced around the left side, broke several tackles, and then went into the end zone for the score. William Martin on the kick. It'll be held by Jake Carpenter. Credit Jake Carpenter out there with a good block on that corner to allow Ryan to come back in. And the ball's down, the kick is up, and it's no good. I wonder if the officials saw the ball and know where it's good or not.
Well, I'm going to have to take their word with them, and I'm not going to argue with them because I never saw the ball.
I saw it at some point going up, but we couldn't see the team. And they would not be able to see anything out.
That's exactly right, Mike. I'll tell you what, you thought this time of day it would clear off, however, and it did there for a short time, but it's moved right back in on us. The scoreboard is still visible, but just barely. Boy, I've never seen anything like it. I'll bet Bob Berry never had this problem.
I'm sure he didn't. And this is a situation here where you've got to kick, and I don't know if players on field are going to be able to see where the ball comes down. It will be a deep onside kick, we think, taken around the 25. Has some running room to the outside, to the 35, to the 41 man to beat, and he knocks him out at the 49-yard line. Blake Bolton, the last man, or I believe that was Clayton on the return there. If Blake Bolton had not stayed there and got one hand to knock him out at the 49, he would have been gone on the touchdown. Deep onside kick, and Allen, we never saw the ball when it went, and we just took it for granted that someone had caught it, and when we saw him coming to this side.
You bet. Spiro coming back out, going right to the line. Let's see where we go.
And they mark it at the 48 in Bulldog territory. There's the option play to the fullback, Clayton, and he crosses from the 48 down across the 50 down to the 48 in Bomber territory. Credit him with a gain of about 4, bring up a 2nd and 6.
All game long. Let's hope they continue on this drive here.
Derek Miller goes out, and Brandon Phillips comes in. Pitch back to the tailback, and he has some running room around the outside. Now he's knocked down around the 38, and again, credit, I believe, as we look down here, it looks like number 79, and along with 33 and 30, Wiley, Cheyenne Clark, one man, and I didn't pick up that number, is able to hold up.
Big numbers on the board against opposing teams this year.
And it will be a first down at the 37-yard line in Bomber territory. Hand off to the fullback again, and that's Clayton, and Clayton will cross the 45 down to the 44. 34. Excuse me, that will be the 34-yard line. Thank goodness the field is so well marked, or we would be in a bad situation. And in case you're wondering what we're talking about here, the Bombers leading 20-0 with a minute left to go in the third quarter. The fog has rolled in as it was at the beginning of the game, and conditions are continuing to worsen by the minute. Massey, 2 tight ends and a wingback, hands off to Delton. He will be met behind the line on a very, very good defensive play by a host of Bombers.
You bet, Mike. Number 30 and number 33 comes up, makes an excellent tackle then.
Also, Shea Woodall coming up and doing a good job. One of the few times that Lamar Delt has been knocked down for no gain. And even at that, they put it down. They'll give him a gain of 1. It will be 3rd down and 9. We'll see if they try to put this ball up in the air again. They've tried to pick on both Hilburn and Hughes, and they've been able to intercept one apiece. Massey goes back to pass, has a man open, he falls down, it's going to be incomplete. And had that one been intercepted, the ball was overthrown. Had that one been intercepted, that would have been a defensive touchdown. The Scott was the offensive receiver. He went out when he made his cut. He slipped about to 25. A minute timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick.
Well, you can't
go ahead and get the fourth quarter. It's 4th and 8 underway. First play of the fourth quarter as Massey goes back to pass. Now he's under some pressure. Now he's trying to scramble, has a man open downfield and throws it incomplete. Intended for one of the backs out of the backfield, I believe. Now, I believe there's 35 Gist, and Massey, under severe pressure, had to throw the ball away, and the Bombers will take over at their own 30. What is that, John? Looks like about the 35-yard line.
You bet, Mike, and you can credit number 40, Shea Woodall, number 79, Kirk Wilson, coming up, putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, forcing him out of that pocket, getting to the outside, running him down, making him throw that ball under pressure. Good job by Kirk and
we apologize for having to start in the middle of a commercial in case you missed part of it, but the referee's not giving us many timeouts here. There's a handoff to Isham. No, yes, it is to Isham. As once again the fog is rolling in, and it looked like that Sidney had pulled it back out, but Kevin goes ahead and give him a little bit over 5 yards, leading 20-0 here with 11:28 to go in this ball game. As the fog rolls in, Alan, I'm glad we have the afternoon game, not the night game. Gaston looking over the defense, hands off to Isham over the left side, and Isham will be met right at the line of scrimmage, but is able to go ahead and fall forward for a couple yards, and it will bring up a 3rd down and about 1.5 yards.
Right, Mike, you're right about that night game. If it's this hard to see in the daylight, I just can imagine what it's going to be when it turns dark.
10:50 left to go in the contest as time becomes a factor. 3rd and, as they spotted, it's about 3rd and long 2. Bombers need to continue to pick up some first downs and eat that time off the clock. Hand off to Isham. He will get outside for the first down and knocked out of bounds at the 50-yard line. And maybe even the 49. We'll see where they spot it. He went off right tackle and then bounced it outside after he broke one tackle at the line of scrimmage. And Kevin Isham, this is a time in the ball game when Kevin Isham can just put his head down and try to get yardage, eat up the clock.
And Mike, that's what he just did. He goes to the right side, to nothing there. He just bounces off that tackle, continues outside, picks up that first down. Good hard running by Kevin Isham.
And Kevin goes over 100 yards with that run, 103 yards. Both backs in the Frederick backfield over 100 yards. Tied in to the right, there's a pitch to Ryan Ben across the 50 to the 45, down across the 40-yard line, and will be even across the 39. Looks like they're going to spot it between the 39 and the 38 in Bulldog territory.
And Mike, the Bomber offense doing a great job right now, doing just what they need to do, making yardage on every snap of the ball, marching the ball right downfield, eating time off that clock, and that's the name of the game.
And I don't know if anyone's ever called a ball game through field glasses, but we're attempting it right now, Alan. 1st and 10 for the Bombers at the 38-yard line. Hand off to Isham again up the middle. And Kevin will go over the right side, veers back a little bit, and he will get down to the 36-yard line. And that will be a gain of about 3, brings up a 2nd and 7.
Mike, once again, Kevin runs right up the middle, just finds a little initial hole on the line and dives forward, picks up about 3 yards, I guess. Good job by Kevin.
Ball resting right on the 36, 9:55. Bombers leading 20-0 in the fourth quarter. Gaston looking over the defense. Gaston on the option, keeping the ball, and Sidney Gaston, he will be dropped for no gain or maybe in a little loss, but he did a very wise thing by holding on to the ball then, Alan.
Yes, he did, Mike. His pitch man was covered. A lot of guys coming up on the ball. Wasn't a lot of room. Instead of taking the chance, Sidney just eats the ball, and very good play on Sidney's part. Wasn't anything there that time. Take your loss, hold on to the ball, and try again this play.
And Sidney Gaston having a much better second half. Very smart play on the option play. Credit that with the experienced quarterback. Brings up a third and 7, and a handoff to Isham again. He's dancing around across the 35 down to about the 32, 33-yard line. As I just lose one of the microphones off of me, that's for one of the replay cameras. It falls to the floor, so...
Mike liked about 3 yards picking up the first down, bring up 4th and 3 here. Let's see what the Bomber coaching staff decides to do here.
And it will be a 4th down, and the Bombers will be going for it.
Crowd chanting go on the far sideline.
4th and 3. There's a pitch to Ryan Ben, and he will be short, I believe, as it looked like he might have a crease, and he tried to cut back up the field, and as a result, credit the hustling defense, the Bulldogs, as they have not given up, and they are named aptly because they're holding like a bulldog, and they kept Ryan Ben from getting that first down.
Mike, you've got to say something good about them. They pursue to the ball very well. You can fool them every once in a while, and you can fool them for a moment. But if you let them see what's going on, they're going to get to the ball, and they're going to do it very quickly.
The fog may have backed off just a little bit, as we can see a little bit better now. Massey handing off, or on the option play, Massey keeping the ball, and he will be knocked down by Bolton, as Massey does a real good job on that option, riding the fullback and then keeping the ball, and he will go ahead for about 7 yards. Brings up a 2nd and 3.
He executed that play very well, got outside, faked the ball to his pitch man, holds it, comes upfield. Blake Bolton, number 3, coming up, making a good tackle.
Blake Bolton has had an excellent game at that safety position thus far, prevented a couple of touchdowns. Pitch back to Delt around the right side, and he will be close to the first down. And Millard Parks is there to meet him along with Blake Bolton, and looks like maybe Brandon Phillips is in there now also. It will be very close to the first down, and they say it is a first down. And I tell you what, we'll give Lamar Delt 3 yards all day long. We don't want him to break a big one. 7:26, Bombers leading 20-0 here in the 4th quarter. Ball resting on the 42-yard line in Bulldog territory. Pitch back to Delt again, and he will be tackled from behind on a very good defensive play.
You bet. Number 51, Clay Johnson, comes across from the linebacker position. Number 5, Millard Parks, comes up from the strong safety. Held him to not a lot of gain then. Good
Kevin
job.
Isham comes in for Bolton. And it will be a 2nd and 12 as Isham getting a breather there. Bolton doing a very good job coming in at that safety spot to give Isham a rest. As it's 2nd and 12, we'll see if they try to put it up in the air or keep running the option play. Massey does go back to pass, goes across the middle, and it will be almost intercepted, as Greg Hilburn almost had his 2nd interception, and the wide intended for the wide receiver, and he is still down as he dove for the ball. Kevin Isham hit him, and he is down, and it will go as an incomplete pass.
I'll tell you what, Mike, Spiro, very fortunate. Greg, I think, watching the receiver, lost the ball maybe there for a moment. The ball hits him, and he was very aggravated with himself for not catching that ball.
That's Dustin Gist, who is down. He had one of the long pass plays, and looked like he might have been holding his knee or possibly his ankle as he dove for the ball, and Kevin dove for him, and it was just kind of a glancing blow, but you never know how he may have come down on the turf. And Dustin Gist gets up and on his feet now, and both sides giving him a round of applause as that young man has played a very good ball game. It will be a 3rd and 12 as Gist comes off the field and limping, so we'll see. Probably doubtful he'll be back in the ball game. 3rd and 12 as the Bulldogs have a wide receiver to the right, a Pro back to the left, I formation with Clayton and Delt in the backfield. Massey goes back to pass, now under pressure. Now he is going to be sacked. He throws the ball. It's going to be intercepted by Isham. At the 40, at the 35, at the 30, down to the 26-yard line. Massey threw the ball with the man
hanging all over him.
Hanging all over him. He went ahead and threw it, and Isham intercepted it at the safety spot. And Kevin Isham returns it to the 26-yard line. Bombers ahead 20-0, 6:24 in the contest. And they have it at the, we'll say, the 27 now when they spot it.
Mike, I didn't get a number who was putting the pressure. Might have been number, was it Shea Woodall comes up, puts a lot of pressure, has him sacked for a loss out of desperation. He throws the ball in the air. Kevin Isham picks it off for a good return.
And will be 1st and 10 for the Bombers at the 27-yard line. There's a handoff to Ryan Ben, and credit the Bulldogs as they faked the pitch to Isham, handed off to Ben, and there will be no gain.
Right, Mike.
He was met by about 5 players.
They didn't fool anybody right then. Turns back around, gives the ball up, and the whole Spiro team right there waiting on him.
That was one of those situations where when Ryan got the ball, he was looking at the team portrait of the Spiro Bulldogs defensive set. So even at that, he gains about a foot. He'll be 2nd and a long 9. Ball still around the 27-yard line. Bog is let up just slightly. There's the option play. The only problem is that as Sidney goes to the right, everyone else goes to the left, and that will be gained. Still is able to gain about 1. And that was, I believe that was a mix-up because I don't think Sidney wanted to be out there by himself.
No, that's one of those when you holler whoops and hope you can do something with the ball. And Sidney was in trouble all the way. Miscommunications there somewhere.
Bring up a 3rd and a long 8. We'll see if the Bombers decide to pass in this situation or run or draw, what they decide to do. Gaston does indeed go back to pass, looking for the screen now, throws over to Isham, has some running room down to the 15, 10, 5, touchdown. And that was, looked like a double screen because he faked the screen pass over to Ryan Ben, and he drew all the Bulldogs over there and then threw the screen back to the left side of the field to Isham, and Isham had about 5 Bombers in front of him, and he actually stopped at the 1-yard line to let the final Bulldog run by, and then he stepped into the end zone for the touchdown.
I'll tell you what, Mike, excellent call. A play set up very beautifully. Sidney threw the ball very well. Kevin's right there, and like you said, he had half the Bomber team out in front of him to block for him all the way to the end zone.
Bombers will go for 2 here, leading 26-0, 4:40 left in the game. They missed the extra point on the last touchdown. There's the option play to Ryan Ben, sprinting for the end zone. He's in on the 2-point conversion. The Bombers will lead 28-0 with 4:40 left to go in the 4th quarter. Let's take a 30-second timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick.
Go.
Now we're back live from Owen Field. We had a wait a minute. We had a whoops. It's 28-0 with 4:40 left to go in the contest here at Owen Field in Norman, Oklahoma, in the semifinal contest. And barring a monumentous catastrophe, the Frederick Bombers will go once again to the state finals. 4:40 left to go in this contest, and they have a 28-point lead.
Mike, that last touchdown had to break the back of the Spiro Bulldogs. I'm sure they're not going to lay down. They're going to be playing from pride from here on in. 28-0, 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the ball game, and the Bombers are about to kick off.
Blake Bolton will be doing the kicking. Clayton and Massey back deep, and we actually can see the ball. It will be taken by Clayton at the 1-yard line. Comes to the left side and will be tackled at the 20-yard line. And I believe that is number 52 for the Bombers, and that will be J.D. Thayer, who is down there to take the feet out from under Clayton. And he good coverage on the kickoff return, and they will have it at the 20-yard line. And CD, I think I actually turned the microphone on so you can hear now after it fell off. So J.D. Gets down and makes a tackle on that. The Bulldogs have it 1st and 10 on their 20-yard line. Attempt to pass across the middle will be incomplete at the 35. Intended there for Jeremy Francis. And the ball was thrown a little bit too far toward the sideline. They'll fall incomplete, be 2nd and 10 at the 21. 4:10 left to go in the contest. Bombers leading 28-0. Alan, one of those things that the Bombers able to get the ball back on offense, they might just want to do a couple of kneel downs and punt if they have to. But
that's right, Mike. The main thing now is to run the time off that clock.
And Massey goes back to pass, throws, has a man at the 30, and that's complete to number 1, Freddie Scott. And he gets it after will be good enough for the 1st and 10 on about a 12, 13-yard gain. He makes reception and then is rolled out of bounds at between the 32 and 33-yard line.
Right, Mike. Bombers can play a little bit loose now, breathe a little bit easier. All they've got to do is stay in the ball game and try not to give up those big plays.
Massey sets the offense after the Bulldog 1st down. Again, goes back to pass, looking across the middle. It will be incomplete as he had Massey put it right on the money, but I believe that was Greg Hilburn. Is that right, Alan?
It was either Greg Hilburn or maybe Blake Bolton that came across and did hammer that receiver.
I believe
number 11, Greg Hilburn.
I believe it was Hilburn, as I had a man open, and that was Francis who was open, I believe, Jeremy Francis, and Hilburn came over and just knocked the ball out of his hands on a ferocious hit. Falls incomplete, will be 2nd and 10. Ball at the 32 in Bulldog territory. Massey goes back to pass. Under some pressure, he will be sacked at the 26-yard line.
By number 30, Tony Wiley, Mike.
Tony Wiley coming in on on a blitz with 3:34. Wiley's blitz is able to drop Lamar Massey, or excuse me, that's Massey, the quarterback, Lavelle Massey, and the ball will be spotted at the 20, about around the 26-yard line. 3:18 to go. Bombers leading 28-0. And it will be a 3rd and 16 play. Massey, looks like Massey is going to call a timeout as he looked over the personnel and looked over the sideline and called the timeout. So if Bulldogs have any tricks, they'll probably try to pull them out here in just a minute. We will keep it here as they have been sending us back very quickly, but we'd like to take a chance to thank Cabbage Patch, Oxford Limited, Botec, Bird Dog Girls at Frederick Lumber.
You bet. And you folks out there listening, anytime you go in these places of business, be sure and tell them how much you appreciate bringing this broadcast to you.
3rd and 16 from the 26. Looks like a screen pass, and it will be complete at the 25 and will be knocked down at the 5, and there will draw a penalty for a late hit as Millard Parks broke it up, and then Clay Johnson came in. Probably if the score wasn't 28-0, Alan, that would not have been a flag, and I don't think Clay Johnson was trying to hit late. He just had already left his feet, and even though that was complete and not short of 1st down, this 15-yarder will probably give him enough for the 1st down yard.
Mike, I think those referees felt like by taking that hit from Millard Parks, and he did lay the young man out, that he'd had enough, and anybody else touched him deserved a penalty.
And Millard Parks on the screenplay read it perfectly and laid a ferocious hit on the young man, and then Clay Johnson tattooed him again, so that's a hustle penalty, but it will give the Bulldogs a 1st and 10 as they will move it up to the 44-yard line, still in Bulldog territory, 2:45 and counting. Pass is incomplete.
Great job of defense there by number 81, John Hughes.
John Hughes, who went up, and that's one of those situations. John Hughes went up and knocked the ball away, or that would have been a touchdown, as he was able to defend. And Hughes and Hilburn doing a very good job against Massey here in this ball game today.
You bet, Mike. John Hughes breaks step for step with the receiver. Just as the ball reaches him, gets a hand up, bats the ball down. Great defense by John Hughes.
And once again, folks, when we're calling this, we really can't see the ball when it goes in the air. We are just anticipating it, and hopefully we won't get completely tricked and tell you something wrong, but it will bring up a 2nd and 10. The ball on the 40 as Lamar Massey tries a quarterback draw, and either that or just pulled it down. And Derek Miller is in there to wrap him up, and it will be for a loss of about 1, or he may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage. It'll be a 3rd and 10, and they say that he lost about 2 or 3 inches, and the ball's still about the 44-yard line, third and a little bit more than 10.
You bet, Mike. Clock down to 2 minutes and running. This one's just about in the books.
Bombers leading 28-0 here on a very hard-fought, much like the Plainview contest that they had last week. Massey goes back to pass, has a wide-open receiver, and it will be intercepted by Hughes, as I believe that's Hughes, and we'll try to get the binoculars on him over there.
That's who it was, Mike. Number 81, John Michael Hughes, breaks up, gets up in the air, vertically catches the ball. Good interception.
And you heard it right. I said he had a man wide open, and Hughes at the last second jumped in front of him, was able to intercept it, and then slide out of bounds over around the 42-yard line, and the Bombers will have it 1st and 10 with 1:45.
And Mike,
to go on the contest.
The fog's not going anywhere. It looks to still be hanging around. Doesn't act like it's going anywhere, and the players still tough to see on the field.
And Gaston, that quarterback, we'll see what the Bombers decide to do. They will run the option back to Isham over the right side, and he will be forced out of bounds around the 48-yard line. And that was a little counter option that has worked several times through the day, and that will be short of the first down. Let's see, they may want to measure this.
Be very close, Mike, maybe within about a foot.
They're going to go ahead and say it's 2nd down and about a foot there. If this was a close situation, they might measure. I believe he's probably about 6 inches short. Bombers leading 28-0, 1:40 left to go. That did stop the clock when Isham went out of bounds. Handoff to, Gaston has the ball. He's running open to the 35-30, 25-20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown. 47 yards on the option play. And really that was kind of a deal where they were trying to run the clock out, and Gaston came out to the left side. They covered his pitch man, and he looked up and saw a wide open field. And what can you do but tell him not to go ahead and run it in for the touchdown?
Well, I tell you what, that's kind of like pouring salt in the wound, Mike. But when you give a guy that lane, everybody went for Isham, went for Ben, just left Sidney wide open, and he just took a stroll to the end zone. Nobody ever touched him or came close to him.
That's a 2-play, 58-yard drive. And that was a situation where everyone collapsed on the first man through, and then the 2 men went out on the pitch man, and Gaston, who was, I'm sure, came to this side just to take up a lot of time off the clock, all of a sudden he finds an opening, and he races all the way down for the touchdown. And, the opposing coaches may say, well, why in the world did you try to run a touchdown when you give a kid an open field, he's going to take it every time.
Well, Mike, you can't, I think probably the intentions of the coaches were just to try to keep the play simple, march the ball down the field, run the time off the clock, 1 minute and 30 seconds left, and that was just a case where he was open, and he took advantage of it.
And the kick is up, and it is no good. And William Martin's kick is no good, and went off to one side or the other. Frankly, we couldn't see the ball as it went up in the air, so we're not for sure which side it went off. 1:30 left to go in the contest, and Bombers will be kicking off again. A 2-play drive puts it in on John was at a 54-yard run, 47-yard run on the option play, and 58-yard drive. One of those situations where the Bombers trying to run the ball out, all of a sudden Gaston looked up, and he had an open field on the quarterback keeper, and he raced around the left side and all the way into the end zone. Blake Bolton is ready to kick, and it will be taken around the 20, about the 16-yard line, and the young man will make it back to the 27-yard line. And believe me, it's getting very hard to see, and I would not want to be here trying to broadcast this game tonight. And Marlowe and Bonita, the winner of that game, will face Frederick in the final game. And we might talk about that a little bit later on toward the end of the ball game. 1:19 left to go in the contest.
And Mike, we bring in some new Bombers. Number 20 comes into the ball game, which is Scott Matthews at linebacker.
There's a pass play complete out to the right side, and that will be number 26 catching the ball for the Spiro Bulldogs.
Right, brought down
Chris Tanner.
Brought down by, I believe, number 43, Jim Bob Brimple, who's just come into the ball game.
And that will be good for the first down, as Massey's still in the ball game, along with Dale and Clayton. And the Bulldogs would sure like to get some points on the board here with 50 seconds and counting. And Bombers jump, so there will be no play, and it will cost the Bombers 5 yards, I'm sure, unless there was some movement there, because the defensive man went across the line of scrimmage. Encroachment Frederick, and it will cost the Bombers 5, and the ball will be moved up to the 50-yard line. 47 seconds, that also stops the clock. 47 seconds left to go in the contest. Bombers leading 34-0, ball just short of the 50-yard line.
And number 25, Jake Carpenter in the ball game.
Twin receivers go out to the left. That's Harvey and Steele for the Bulldogs. Massey goes back to pass. It will be intended for, I believe, for Steele, and it goes way over his head, all the way out of bounds, and that will be incomplete. Will bring up a second down and 5. 33 seconds left to go in the contest. Alan, we're in a situation here that the fog is really has not gotten any worse than it was, and not gotten any better. It may worsen tonight, but Bombers fans being in such a good mood winning this contest, they may stay around here and shop and cost us all a bunch of money.
That's right, Mike, and you can probably bet that the big end of them is going to probably stay right here in town and try to take on the next game, which is Marlowe and Bonita.
Massey under pressure, rolls to his left. Now he pulls the ball down. Now he's still on his feet, breaks a tackle, will be knocked out of bounds, and Frederick may get a late hit on that. They really didn't want him to get out of bounds, but one of the Bombers comes in late, and some of those younger players in the ball game now intent to being a part of the game, and I think they'll probably get a 15-yard penalty here.
You bet, Mike, and that's exactly what happened. They're excited, big game. They've stood around and waited for the opportunity to get in and show their stuff, and sometimes they're just a little over-eager on those kind of plays.
And we have a player down, away from the sideline as it went over to the left, and there's a player over here to the right side hash mark, and really didn't see that. But the Bombers will be penalized 15 yards for the hit out of bounds, and I believe that's number 79. That's number 74, I believe, Clark, 5'11", 220. As he's being helped off the field, that is number 74, number 74, B.J. Clark. So after the 15-yard penalty, the Bulldogs will have it at the 28-yard line. Massey goes back to pass, throws toward the end zone, incomplete. It intended down there right at the 3-yard line, and it falls incomplete.
I'll tell you what, Mike, he was open. He had his man beat about 2 steps. Ball just happened to be overthrown.
Intended for Tanner, and he was wide open at the 3 and tried to stretch for the ball, but couldn't quite get there. 19 seconds left. Play comes in from the sideline. Tanner goes back to the left side. Massey has the play now, goes back to pass, and intended, it will be intercepted. It's intercepted by Jake Carpenter running down the right side, and he will be knocked out of bounds at the 33-yard line.
Well, Mike, I don't know very much, but does that clock still say 9 seconds?
I think probably someone forgot to run it off, or maybe they couldn't tell whether the clock was running or not in the fog. I don't know, but that was about the time when the play started. But the Frederick Bombers will have another interception. That's Jake Carpenter, who, again, I hope if you see this on the playback and you can see the ball, folks, you'll be doing better than we are, because when the ball was thrown, we just saw a couple of people go up, and then we saw Jake Carpenter run, so we figured he had the ball.
Well, Mike, this is whether you think the Bombers will have to take the snap, kneel to one knee, and that will be the ball game. The clock started that time. It is running. Folks, that's the ball game. Bombers win 34-0.
And Gaston will kneel down with 9 seconds. That's the ball game, as the Bombers will go to the state finals as the players meet on the field to shake hands. And it's a big win for the Frederick Bombers as they defeat the Spiro Bulldogs 34-0. Let's take a 2-minute timeout, and then we'll be back with some closing comments and the final statistics. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick.